I'm reading from Our Lincoln by Eric Foner. Something really interesting. Colonization needs to be viewed in the context of other plans to determine the racial makeup of American society, including Indian removal and later Chinese exclusion. As the late as late as 1862, the House Committee on Emancipation and Colonization called for the removal of blacks so that the whole country could be occupied by whites alone. Now, it occurred to me that a lot of history does not focus on removal and how that played a role in the formation of the country. When the country was formed, they spent, 1776, they made the Declaration of Independence. They spent the next 20 years developing the Constitution, developing Bill of Rights, developing the legal structure of how they were going to function. But now, there had been no society in existence. There was not a dictatorship or some type of monarchy. This was the first experiment in participatory government, self-governing. We govern ourselves. We're going to get as close to democracy as possible. We're going to vote, be it oligarchy, be it republic, be it democracy, but we're going to govern ourselves. We're not going to have one person telling us what to do. Well, the next question after they set up the framework was who gets to participate in self-governing? Who belongs here? Who's going to get to be in this strategic government that we're trying to create that's never been before? Who gets to participate? Well, right out, half the population doesn't because women, no. But women weren't being removed. So we have to separate oppression from removal. And what's unique, they removed three groups: natives, Mexicans, blacks. Natives were the only people that they said this was a removal. The law was the Indian Removal Act. We are removing them. They removed Mexican people from Texas to the Pacific Ocean, from the current border of Mexico all the way up to Idaho. But that was a result of a war, and that removal was called a treaty, Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. When they decided to remove blacks, and they began trying to remove blacks in 1816, formally. There were some speakings of removal before that, but they actually formed the American Colonization Society and other subsets of that in different states to just get black folks and move them out. And primarily, they wanted to get rid of free black folks. But they did not call that a removal. They called that colonization. Now, that was not colonization. Colonization has always, until that point, has always functioned a particular way. A colony, like America once was a subset of an empirical nation, an empirical body, imperial body, right? And they had a connection of economics, of culture, of citizenship, government, and protection. Haiti was a colony of France. When the Haitian Revolution started, Napoleon Bonaparte had to come to address it. Why did Napoleon Bonaparte come? Because they had a cultural connection, they had a legal connection, they had a military connection. So when there was a problem, their army came. During Bacon's Rebellion, when there was a problem, the colonist elite did not have to fight off the working class colonists by themselves. England came to defend the colonies. So, why would they call removing black people colonization? Every time they tried to send them somewhere, they sent them with the express purpose of them becoming citizens where they were going. So there was no citizenship connection. There has never been an economic structure put in place for black people to develop what they were doing, just like they did for whites in the West. It's like England did for Europeans in the colonies. There was never an economic structure. When they were sent to Liberia, it was get in where you fit in and become citizens over there. When they sent them to Haiti, when Abraham Lincoln sent them to Haiti, it was under the expressed contracted obligation that they become Haitian citizens. So why did they choose this word that was completely inaccurate? For that matter, why did they use the accurate statement with the natives? Why is it that they said that the natives were being removed? It appears as though, for whatever reason, there was a degree of recognition that the Native Americans actually belonged here. It wasn't moving them somewhere else. There was nowhere else to move them to. Mexico, we can fight over the border. We're going to push you further into your country. So they resolve that as, okay, that's a matter of a disagreement and a treaty, which how can you form a treaty under duress? Because if there's a war and I tell you, let's make an agreement, you have to make an agreement for me to stop killing you. That's under duress. That's not a contract. But as much as we talk about the formation of the country, we don't talk about how removal was such a major part of this nation forming. There was a desire to create a white nation, and then later into the 18th and 19th century, you had the Chinese exclusion. But again, that's not the same as the removal that was going on with, like I said, there's a difference between oppression and removal. And to be honest, I have to look more into the Chinese exclusion. But we have to, I think history has kind of missed this very important part that was going on between the Revolutionary War and through the Civil War. Because when they were removing Mexicans, Indians, and blacks, that was all happening at the same time. They all overlapped at some point. And then we have to notice all of these things were going on at the same time. In the same people, the United States government, each time they called it something different. This is something that we need to look into. Why? Why were the same people doing the same thing with three different groups of people, but they called it something different in each case?